Hey, all you cool cats out there on the internet. You're listening to Random Rhetoric with your favorite host, Chris Collin.
Thank you for tuning in to Random Rhetoric. I'm your host, Chris Collin, and today I'm honored to have Mr. Locario on, or Locario, the bad boy of the dating game. Welcome, Mr. Locario.
What's up? What's going on, man?
It's going good. Before I begin and forget, I just wanted to thank you for coming onto the show and giving me the opportunity to interview you. I met you at the Great Love Debate a while back, a few years ago, I think, and you were very cool and down to earth. So I was like, I wanted to get you on the show. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, not cool. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
You're welcome. So I've been watching you on YouTube for many years now, and to me, you're the realest coach out there that resonates with me the most. And you have made thousands, if not tens of thousands of videos that are out there. And the thing that I love is you literally have basically covered a video on like every topic imaginable. I know because I've looked in like YouTube bars and I've searched, and I mean, you have at least one video, if not multiple, on, it's amazing. So, so I was wondering, with your knowledge and teachings have helped, me and thousands of other dudes out there, and I can see the changes in myself. So I just want to thank you again for all that you've done. So it really means a lot, and I'm glad that I found your channel, because there's so many channels out there. So it's really fantastic that I found you. But so what I wanted to start with is, when you first started making YouTube videos in the very beginning, even part-time or not as much as you did now, did you always just have a knowing that you would get to this point or beyond, or were there doubts and struggles ever along the way where you were like, I don't know if I can make this a full-time thing, or was it just like a perseverance, or like, what was the mindset there?
Yeah, I didn't really know how far it could go. I always thought that I could put something out there and, help people, and then actually make some money off of it, and, just do my thing and just, keep it moving. And I thought, I like to do this either way, because I wasn't making any money in the first like 4 or 5 years. So What happened is that, I said to myself, okay, if I could continue to do this and, also make money and make a living off it, it'll be great. If I can't, then cool. I'll probably still do it. You know what I'm saying? That was like my mindset, because I just like doing it. So I just kept going. And then, things started to snowball, and then I was able to quit my job, do it full time. And now we're here. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome. So you said the first 4 or 5 years, so you're still like working another job when you were doing this the first couple of years?
Yeah. So I was working at a gym. And then before that, I was working in like after school program and stuff like that. Yeah. So before I was doing this, I was doing those two things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I just thought things kind of took off pretty quickly for you from the get-go.
Not at all.
One thing I noticed that like people calling out to ask a question, which is cool, but I noticed that people don't really donate anymore to do the email response videos, which I kind of miss them. Do you still get them ever, or that's pretty much old news?
Oh no, I still get them once in a blue moon. Sometimes I think because I do more live streams now, people call in a little more, and since I cover so many things, a lot of people they hear probably the answers to their questions and some of the things.
Yeah.
So, so I think that could also have something to do with it. But yeah, I still do that. So when people want me to do their email questions, I still get that going. You know what I mean?
Okay. I was wondering, so with all the calls that you get and emails and your personal coaching with clients, what would you say is the most common problem guys are dealing with in terms of their relations with women, like an underlying theme, if you had to say?
I think one of the main things is guys not really understanding the reality of dating and what it takes to be successful, because I think what happens is people have huge expectations, but they don't actually have the motivation to do what it takes to acquire those huge expectations they have. So you have guys out there who they'll want a certain type of woman. They'll want, multiple women. They'll want, things to go their way. But what happens is that in order for that to happen, you're going to have to go through rejection. You're going to have to go through talking to a lot of women. You're going to have to go through, going back and forth with a lot of different situations that might not necessarily be that fun to go through. But part of getting to the point of where you want to go or where you want to be, you need to go through those things. And I think a lot of guys don't actually want to go through the things. They just want the outcome. And the problem is that the outcome, or to get to those certain outcomes, you have to put in a certain type of work and you have to grind and you have to actually make those things happen. So I think the biggest misconception is, or the biggest mistake that a lot of guys make, is thinking they can get these grandiose outcomes without having to put in the work. So I think that's the thing, is that, they get so disappointed because they're expecting maximum outcomes with minimal effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you think that's because they're relying just on external things like looks, money, and status, or do you think that they understand the reality that you're talking about, but they just they can't deal with the pain of rejection? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above, but also one of the things is like some people, what they do is, and this just goes for all aspects of life, right? Like people want to do certain things and they think that, or they'll say to themselves, you know what, I'll do that at some point, or I'll do that later. I'll jump to that when I'm more comfortable, when I have things settled or whatever, right? But then what happens is that because they're not actually in the situation, then they don't know what the reality is to be in that situation. So then when they finally do get into the situation, they're like, man, I didn't know it was going to be this this difficult. Because what I noticed about life in a lot of situations is that most things that you think are simple might not be as simple as you expected, or most things that you think are going to take quickly, or I should say take quick, are going to take a long time. So it's like, so you sort of overestimate, or I should say, like you just have this idea of what you think is going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen because you're not in the situation. So for example, a guy might say, I could go out there and talk to some women and hook up with girls. I'll just do that. I'll start doing that next month. I'll start approaching women next month.
Yeah.
He's never really approached women. So he's thinking, okay, well, if I approach, women, I'm sure to get some. I just got to do it whenever I feel like it, and I'll just make it happen. So then he finally goes out there and he's like, okay, I'm going to start today. And then he's going out and he's approaching women. He approaches 5 or 6 women. None of them want to talk to him. You know what I'm saying? And now he's pissed off and he's angry. Yeah. And the thing is that now at this very moment, he's in the situation. He's in the thick of it. He's actually in the situation. And so he, at this point, now sees what it's really about. And he realizes, man, I didn't know it was going to be like this. I thought it was going to be something else. But the reason why he thought it was going to be something else is because he wasn't doing it. As soon as you start to do it, then you really realize what it is. So this is what I was saying earlier, is that most guys aren't really doing anything. And so because they're not doing anything, they have an idea of what it would be like to be doing it, but they're never going to do it until they actually do it. You see what I'm saying? So they got themselves in there.
Gotcha. So over the past 15 years or so that you've been doing this and teaching men, do you see more men going in the wrong direction? That is, they're being more feminine, not approaching women as much, complaining more about dating? Or would you say it's about the same as it was 15 years ago? And if so, what do you attribute to that, decline, if you will?
No, I think it's gotten way worse. I think before there was more, guys had a little bit more motivation, more hope. There was more like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go out and do this and do what I need to do. I think what happened is that as time went on, because I think first people got into the whole pickup artist thing, and the pickup artist was making it seem like this extravagant, and that's what I wanted to stray away from, where it's like, I didn't want it to be where it's like, oh yeah, just say these 3 magic words. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So because guys thought it was that easy, like I was saying earlier, when they actually got into it, it was like, man, it's not as easy as I thought. And then so what happens is guys fell back and was like, man, forget all this. I'm going to be MGTOW. I'm going to be Red Pill. I'm going to, get my passport, whatever. All these things, pretty much the same thing. It's retreating from the situation. But what most people don't understand is this, is that there's always going to be a balance within anything you're doing. So for example, if you're saying, well, you know what, I'm just going to fall back and I'm not going to deal with any women. It's like, okay, well, now that you fell back, you don't have to deal with rejection. You don't have to deal with, interacting with women who might annoy you. You don't have to deal with all of the the annoyances that might come with interacting with a woman. But guess what? The balance is you ain't gonna get no women. You feel what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
flip side is true is that, yeah, you are interacting with these women. Some women might flake. Some women are going to reject you. You know what I mean? There's going to be times where it's like, oh man, this girl, she's doing me or whatever. But then on the flip side, you get like the good part about it, where you get some good sex. You get a girl who's cooperative. You get a girl who can actually add value to your life. But in order to get that, the balance is that you got to put in the work. So it's either you got to choose poison. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. I was wondering, have you seen clients of yours go from weak game to having incredible game, like at your level, or is that a bit of a stretch? Like, have you seen that? Or of course you've seen results, but I was kind of curious, like to what level, like from beta to alpha extreme, or.
Oh no, I've seen people have great results. You know what I mean? But and also I say this, I've seen people who were better than me. You know what I'm saying? That you know what I mean? And when I say better than me, what I mean is that because they took it seriously and because they put in more work, they got more results. See, the thing about the game is this, right? Even though, like, let's say for example, I can talk to a let's say a random guy or whatever, and we're at the bar, right?
Yeah.
And even though I probably know more than him, if he talks to more women and more women and I'm just chilling and I'm not hardly doing anything, he's gonna probably get more action that night. You see what I'm saying? So even though you know the game, it doesn't matter unless you apply it. You see what I'm saying? So there are clients that apply it so heavy that just they're kicking ass. They're going out, you know what I'm saying? Like they're making it happen. So it all depends on how much you apply it. You see what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay. One thing that you talk about, which I experience and I see women do a lot, which is kind of funny, is they'll, and you've talked about this countless times, is they'll put themselves basically in your orbit. So you'll strike up a conversation with them in public. Is that basically their way of saying, like, I think you're attractive, say hi to me? Is that the bold female approach?
You saying if a woman is like sort of giving choosing signals, something like that?
Well, just as far as like, let's say you're at a grocery store or something like that, and there's multiple different ways that she can go to get to where she has to go in the aisle, but she like parks right up against you and she's just like kind of lingering. It's just like, it's women do that kind of shit, I'm guessing, right? Sometimes if they're feeling the dude, they're out in public, they'll situate themselves near the guy so he'll, strike up a conversation and say hello.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so women will do that. And because that's their way of trying to get your attention, that's their way of sort of trying to be assertive. So they don't usually go all the way. Like they'll go all the way in some situations if it's like a guy that they're really, really feeling, they just can't take it. Like, I got to say something.
Right.
In general, they'll do the most they'll usually do is just put themselves in the circumference of the guy and just put themselves in that, in that orbit. So a lot of guys need to be aware that if you're in a situation, you might see a girl, you think she's attractive and she's like, putting herself there for you to talk to her. But then if you're scared to talk, then nothing's probably going to happen. Yeah. So you got to make sure you're ready to do it whenever it comes down. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You said before in the video, and correct me if I'm wrong, that women will punish you for fucking up a situation, and they do normally punish guys. I'm guessing that say that they were really into a dude and the dude like fucked it up somehow. They'll punish a dude for that shit, right?
So you said they'll punish a dude if what? Say that again. All
right. So if let's say that like a woman's feeling a dude, like she's really into him. Let's say they even go out on a date, maybe they hook up, they have sex, but at some point, at any point, let's say like he fucks it up, he does some like corny shit. Will she like punish him as far as? Because I thought that you did a video a while back, and it was kind of interesting to listen to. That like women will punish. When the dude fucks up, like where, he screws up, like, for example, she like might like stop returning his calls or just, just ignore him or something like that. I mean, like female punishment, I don't know if they do that. I mean, from your experience that you've seen, like where, as I said, if she's feeling a dude and he fucks up the situation somehow and she's like, oh man, I really liked him and he fucked it up. Like she'll do like very subtle things to like kind of punish the dude.
Well, I kind of see what you're saying. So sometimes what'll happen is either like a woman will be feeling a guy, he does something, says something that sort of turns her off and make her feel some type of way. What'll happen is that she might, because she's like turned off now and she's like her perspective of him or how she saw him has changed. Then what'll happen is that either in that moment she'll sort of like decline doing anything else further, or like anything that can happen, or she'll slowly like back away from the situation. So let's say let's say he did something and then he calls her the next week, and then she'll not return the call, leave it on red, or give him the runaround, something like that. You see what I'm saying? Because now what happens is that women are more passive and passive aggressive. So usually women don't want to be in conflict with a man, so they'll just try to fall back and hope he gets the message. You see what I'm saying? Or a woman might be in a situation, let's say she wants to end things with a guy, and let's say she's been with him for an extended period of time. So if she's been with a guy for a long time, it's going to be hard for her to just ghost, because like if let's say she has like a boyfriend for 2-3 years, she can't them. You know what I mean? Because they see each other every week. He knows where she lives. They know. So what she'll do is she'll start acting like a bitch and start acting bitchy and start acting all like crazy and messed up. Yeah. Because she wants him to dump her. You see what I'm saying? She doesn't want to have to dump him. She wants him to get the picture and dump her. So she'll do that type of stuff sometimes too. You know what I'm saying?
I see. Gotcha. Yeah. You constantly use brilliant analogies in your videos to make your points, which I love. And they really are excellent analogies. I was just kind of curious. Do you think at some point in time you might release like a book with all your analogies? Do you like write them all down? Do you have them like in a, like a PDF, like all?
Oh, no, I don't actually. And sometimes some of it, it just comes off the fly. Cause like, I think also because I, like I rap. So like, I write lyrics and shit. So I think that comes from that aspect of my brain too. So like when I'm, explaining things. And also I think analogies and metaphors and stuff like that is a very good way to teach and for people to see a point clearly, because it sort of puts it in perspective so that they can actually get the information. You see what I mean? Yeah. And I think sometimes when it comes to, especially when it comes to learning game, see the problem, I guess I would say this, the problem with people understanding game is that there's so many layers to it, but it's also, it's like simple, but it's complicated at the same time. You understand? Yeah. So many layers to it so that it's almost like once you understand how many layers it is to it, then it's almost like you understand it more. When you're trying to simplify it too much in a sense, or I don't necessarily simplify it, but when you think it's simple, meaning I hear guys say, "Oh, well, game is just about social skills," and I'm like, no, that's not. It's, you know what I mean? When you look at it like that, you don't really get the full grasp and of what it can be. It's almost like it's just like I always say that because I talk about how game is life. So look at it in the sense of like when someone's talking about religion and stuff, you have like a bunch of different religions, like Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, whatever it is like that, right? And essentially, they're all saying sort of the same thing, but in different ways and in there's intricacies and different things like that. So when it comes to game, it's like, and we even said this in a Game Kings documentary, Rosebud said this, he was like, you could have 10 guys, 10 different answers, all correct. And so what is that there's so many different angles to come at the game that there isn't just this one thing that it is this. So this is why when people have the conversation of, well, does looks matter and looks don't matter? Well, it's actually both right. You see what I'm saying? Because in certain situations, yes, your looks are going to matter because that can help you get a situation going. In other situations, your looks don't matter because it's not your looks that's getting you the situation going in the way you want it to go. You see what I'm saying? So it's not either or. It's everything is encompassed in it. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. So I was going to ask you, besides having amazing advice and knowledge about women, the game, and life in general, not to mention a great work ethic and drive, do you attribute part of your success as a dating and life coach to your empathy toward helping these guys out there? Because it seems like you genuinely and truly care about guys getting results and transforming their lives and succeeding. And one thing, this is not a good example, but for example, somebody might call in the show and, they're supposed to donate, but sometimes somebody might forget to donate, but you'll take the call anyway. So do you think that your empathy, and which to me comes through, but do you think that attributes to your success as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because I think because like a lot of the stuff that I hear the guys going through is stuff that I went through and stuff that I didn't understand. So I'm like, and there was things that I learned from people who knew more than me that made me get to where I'm at now. So I'm like, hey, I want to do the same thing for other people. So I think it's important to understand, where people are coming from, but it's easy for me to do that because I've been there, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is the thing where I was saying, like, a lot of times, so a lot of people are looking at the game from the outside in versus being in the situation. And I always tell people, the more that you're in these situations, the more you'll learn about yourself in these situations. So when people talk about, rejection or a woman flaking or them not knowing what to say to a woman, all these other things, everything that you could think of, what happens is they don't know themselves in the situation. So one guy might be like, man, I keep getting rejected by these girls and it sucks and all this other stuff. Right now, 10 guys might hear him say that. And because those 10 guys aren't out there talking to women, they take his word for it. You see what I'm saying? Right. Whereas if those 10 guys actually went out and talked to a woman, one of those 10 guys could talk and a girl reject him, and he might be like, whatever, that don't mean nothing to me. Like, he doesn't feel it the same way the other guy felt it. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we say the game is about you, because you have to understand how you feel. You got to understand what you're doing. You got to do the things for you in order to make things work. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Exactly. It's kind of like you and Miles were talking one time about, it's always clearer to see your mistakes in hindsight after an interaction or someone else's mistakes versus when you're actually in the situation engaging with the woman. It's harder to, you know what I'm saying, see what's going on, but it's like seeing it from an outside perspective. It's like after I'm in an interaction and if things don't go according to the way I want it, I can immediately self-reflect and see like where I went wrong. Is that what you're talking about, reflecting? And
oh yeah, definitely. And that's important. And that's, you got to reflect on what happened in the situation specifically for you. This is why we tell guys coaching is important, because one-on-one coaching directly goes to about, what you're saying and what you're doing and the things you need to make happen. So the thing is that what people don't understand is when they're looking at it from the outside in, they're not looking at it from their own perspective. They're looking at it from other perspective. You see what I'm saying? And you can't learn it that way. You can't really learn the game that way, because this is the thing. Most of the guys who you're learning from their perspective are the guys who aren't really good, or I should say, they're not good at talking to women. Their game isn't tight. So learn from a person's perspective like myself, because my game is tight. You see what I'm saying? But that's because I've put myself out there enough to be in this sort of mindset. This is why, for example, we could have a show like Real Game No Theory and everything flows, because all of us on the show the level of game to where when you reach the level of game, it's all sounds similar, because all in that we all see the same patterns. It's the same thing. But the guys who don't, you know what I'm saying, have game. You notice also, which is interesting, is that they sound similar. Oh, these women out here, Western women, and they all sound similar too. So it's like you can see that from their perspective. You can see it from our perspective, but the most important thing is seeing it from your perspective. You see what I'm saying? So that's the most important thing. You see what I mean?
Exactly. It's funny because I knew you talk about choosing signals on, and you laugh at that a lot. And it's funny because the funny thing about choosing signals is that guys act like they want or they need the choosing signal and that green light to approach the girl. But the funny thing is, at least when I think of it, is let's say if these dudes got the heavy choosing signal, that would fuck them up even more, because now knowing the chick is feeling them, they're probably going to be like, oh shit, now what do I say? I really got to say some slick shit and going heavy, because now I know for sure the chick is feeling me, in other words, like the spotlight's on them, as opposed to say, having less pressure, going in neutral, not knowing if a chick is feeling them or not. So I laugh at that, because I would think, if they were to get a heavy choosing signal, that would probably fuck their minds up even more, and they would probably either not approach, or if they did, they would, bungle the execution. So You ever think of it like that? It's if they did get the choosing signals from these guys.
Yeah, definitely. What happens is you got to understand that even see, this is the problem with a lot of guys when they talk about this choosing signal stuff. Is like, again, it's the whole thing of expecting a certain thing, a certain outcome without putting in the work. Because if
Yeah.
the type of guy who is scared to approach women, you don't know how to have a conversation with a woman. You don't know how to build sexual tension. You don't know how to flirt. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to lead. You're not doing any of these things. What difference does it make if a woman gives you a choosing signal? Because
Right.
you'll be too scared to approach her anyway. And if you do approach her, you're not going to know how to maintain the situation.
Yeah.
So the thing is that a lot of these guys, again, they think choosing signal means that she has made a decision that she likes him.
Right.
And then they also think that the decision that she made to like him will last. You see what I'm saying? Meaning like, oh, well, she decided she liked me. This is why she's giving me the signal. And
Right.
I can just do whatever I want because she showed me that she's interested. That's not how it works. And a lot of guys think that way because that's how they think about women. They see a beautiful woman. They're like, oh, she's bad. She's hot. I want her. I want to see her. I want to talk to her. I want to have sex with her. They've already made up in their mind that they like this woman already. You feel what I'm saying? And they'll do whatever to be with her and get with her. And they think that women are doing the same thing if they're giving them a choosing signal. And that's not,
Right.
you see what I'm saying? So it's the guys have to learn how to really, practice the game so that their entire,
Yeah.
thing is their game is tight. You know what I mean? So that will help them if they do get the choosing signals, then they'll actually, see if they can make that turn into something, even see if the girl is interested in them like that in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to ask you, with all the game and experience you have, do you still get those like crazy butterflies and heart racing when you meet certain chicks, or do you get to a certain level of the game where you're kind of like immune to that because you deal with so much women? Do you still, you know what I'm saying? You still get that like butterflies with certain women?
Right. I would say I don't think it's necessarily butterflies, but what will happen is if I don't go out and talk to women, then there will be hesitation. You understand?
Yeah.
Because like I remember that's happened a few times. It's funny too because I remember I was watching what's his name, Tyler from RSD, and he said the same exact. He was saying, he was like, they had a video where they was like outside somewhere and it was taking them a little while to approach a woman. And that's just something that happens because it's almost like you're not practicing that muscle. And then you don't, and you come out and you're rusty. So it's the same thing as like if a basketball player hasn't played basketball in 2 years and they get back on the court, they warm up. They're not going to be as good as they were, when they were really going in. Same thing if you go to the gym. If you haven't been in the gym in like 6 months, that weight's going to feel even extra heavy, and then your body's going to feel like sore after you come out the gym. You know what I'm saying? For that time. So the same thing with this. When you aren't really actively out there, and even just actively just active period with women and dealing with women, you get rusty. You understand?
Yeah.
Because you have to get back towards where you were at. You feel what I'm saying? So it's not that you forget, or it's not that you can't do it, but it's a thing where you have to warm yourself back up so that you can get to that place again. Now, if you already understand it and know what it is, you can get to that place quicker than the average dude. But either way, no matter what, if you're the type of person who isn't doing it as much and it's not consistent, you got to jump yourself back into the situation. You got to sort of like build that momentum back up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I hear you. As I watched you over the years, one thing I noticed is that no women, except one or two I saw here and there, who've called into the show either to argue or debate, and they'll eventually back down. But no women call into your show to challenge you and say, like, we women are not like that and we do not do that. So that is how you know that your game is real, since you get no pushback from the women. So I find that very interesting because, it's.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's because, what happens is that there are women who watch the show. They lurk, they watch.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, some of them might not comment or call, but they're watching. You know what I mean? And it was funny too, because even what was it? Maybe a week or two ago, I was out street and this lady stopped me. She was like, "Oh, I watch your videos. This is a lady."
Okay.
So the women are watching this, but the thing is that see they understand that what I'm telling guys is, the real deal about what they're doing. But sometimes women see what'll happen is some women will, because I've been on different apps, like I'll be on Clubhouse and stuff, and I'll say certain things. Now in those environments, some women might try to be like, oh no, it's not like that, because they want to save face and they don't want men to know. So you still have those women out there like that. But generally speaking, most women understand what it is. So they don't really have nothing to say truthfully. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And speaking of women, I know you also coach women too, and you have a channel for that, but I'm a little surprised that more women do not donate and call into the show seeking relationship advice, like from time to time. Maybe they have. I've never seen it, and I watch a lot of your stuff, and I was kind of curious why you think that is. Why don't they, donate? And, of course, there's women out there that have relationship problems. So I'm just kind of curious, and they respect you and your advice. So I'm kind of curious why you think, women aren't really calling into the show and asking. Well,
the thing is, the show that I do on my main channel is mostly for men. So mostly
sure.
I call, but on my woman channel, I have I periodically, once in a blue here and there, put up stuff. I gotta put some more stuff on. I haven't put up some stuff up there for the past, I think 3 or 4 months. But I got on a woman channel. But the thing with women and giving advice to women is that there's a small percentage of women who can take real advice, because even the stuff that I give for men is real advice, and even for that, there's still a small percentage of men that can take that. So right. It's an even smaller percentage of women that can take that advice, because the advice that I give is about accountability. And so right. What happens is that men, they'll be a little bit more, lenient towards taking accountability, but women, they're like, no, they're not trying to, they're not trying to take accountability, because for women generally don't think they need to do anything. They think the men need to do stuff. Right. So I heard that a lot of times where they're like, oh, why don't you tell these men to be more mature and not just want to have sex? So what it is that they want the guys to change so that they can have a good situation. But it's funny because that sounds familiar of these guys nowadays too, where the guys want to change so that they can do things the way that, you see what I'm saying? So when the person wants the other person to change, then it's, they're finished.
Exactly. One thing you had mentioned before in one of your videos, and more than once, is that two people really do not get to know each other after sex. You say that two people really get to know each other after sex versus before sex, and you explained it brilliantly. And I forget what you said, and I was kind of curious if you could run that by me again, how two people get to know each other better once sex is out of the way. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so basically what happens is usually before sex happens, one or both parties are putting up a front. You know what I mean? Yeah. Usually it'll be the guy trying to put up the front. The women will put up a front too a little bit, just because they want to appear to be a certain way. You know what I'm saying? But it's the guy trying to put up a front to get to the sex, and then it's the woman trying to put up a front to sort of display herself as this, girlfriend material type of woman. Like, oh, I'm not like these other women out here. Just in general. There's other situations that go down, but in general, that's how women present themselves. In the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that after the sex is, after sex happens, then what will happen is the guy especially is going to be himself fully, because he already got it. So now she'll start to see all his flaws. She'll start to see, if he really likes her and all this other stuff. And even with the woman, so once the sex is done, right, you sort of see how the woman really is after the fact, and how she's going to respond to you, the fact that you had sex with her. Because sometimes what's interesting about that, what women that a lot of guys don't get is guys think that women are very sensitive when it comes to sex, meaning they think women get so emotionally attached. They think women, got to be super comfortable in the situation. They got to build rapport with a woman to get her. They think that they got to deal with a woman with kid gloves when it comes to sex, right?
Right.
But the reality of the situation is that women, they don't have an issue with hooking up, having sex, doing sexual things. It's not anything that's going to be detrimental to her as a woman and all this other stuff. The issue is that her sexual activity is usually tied to whether or not she's going to be more than just a fuck buddy. She's going to be more than just some one night stand or whatever. So that's really the issue. The issue isn't necessarily her having sex. The sort of like restraint, or I can say, so the resistance to her having sex with you or having sex with you quickly, or her making sex a big deal. The resistance comes from the what is going to happen after, because I'm you. What's going to happen after? Are you going to call me or are you going to not call me? The last few guys that I had sex with, they didn't call me. And, two of those guys I really liked and I really wanted to see them. And so like all those things occur. Like women could get pregnant and all that other stuff too, but that's actually secondary because women know their ovulation. They know when they're most likely to get pregnant. There's like 12 forms of birth control. So a woman can pretty much like get that handled. But as far as her ego is concerned, and as far as her sort of like feeling attached to a certain guy, the sex is more like, man, like, okay, we're going to have sex, but once we do have sex, what does this mean now? Based on, and that always correlates to how she feels about the guy. Because sometimes she might just want to have sex with the guy and keep it moving and never see him again. That happens. She might just want to hook up. She's not really taking it seriously. And then she doesn't care. But those other guys that she actually likes more than that, or she starts to, really be into them, then it's always a question of, when are we going to do it? If we do it now, are you going to leave? If we do it later, are you going to, are you going to stay? Like, what is that? What does it all mean? You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. You also mentioned before that a woman should always be the one to talk about, feelings, want a relationship, where are things going, etc. So with that being said, you think they should also be the ones first talking about the topic of marriage as well?
I think that, I would say the same thing for marriage too, but at the same time, the man has to be the one that regulates that too, meaning that he has to be the one to make the decision and see if this is going to go in that direction or whatever it is. So the thing is that a woman being a girlfriend and a woman being a wife is a position, right?
Right.
So the reason why she should be the one going after that is because the reason why she would go after that is because there's some sort of value she sees in the guy. So the guy doesn't necessarily, like, he doesn't have to say anything, because if he's a top-notch dude who's attractive, who women want to be with, they will say it. You see what I'm saying? I don't need to be with a woman and say, hey, I was thinking we should get married. Like, she's going to be begging for me to marry her like multiple times, or she's going to be hoping that I make her my girlfriend or whatever it is, because I'm such an awesome guy. She's going to bring it up. And then I already know she's bringing it up. So then I designate her a time for that to happen or occur when she's earned it. You see what I'm saying? So with the long-term situation is that she's basically, the intern hoping for the job. You see what I'm saying? So you don't got to ask the intern, do they really want a position in the company? They're there every day doing shit. You know what I'm saying? They would love for the company.
Right.
So,
but they should not. But the woman should never be the one to actually ask a guy to marry him, right? Would that be a big no-no?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Well, the thing is that if a woman asks a guy to marry her, the guy marries her because she asks, that's already a ridiculous situation, because now
he's following her lead.
Exactly.
I hear you. Absolutely. Okay, thanks for explaining that to me. And by the way, thanks for talking about Anthony DeMello, who I actually never heard of before you had talked about him. And since then, I've read quite a few of his books, and it's very transformative, his literature. And it's interesting. One of the things that he said in one of his books is life is for the gambler. And that really kind of struck a chord with me. Do you think a lot of dudes out here, they're just like, and I guess you would agree because you kind of touched on it earlier, that they're not really living. They're kind of living through, it'll always be tomorrow, or they're living kind of vicariously.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing is a lot of guys aren't in the now. They're in the what's going to happen later, You know what I mean? So this is why they're so scared to make moves and actually they're stuck on trying to make anything happen. So yeah, the thing is, you know, if they're actually putting themselves out there, right? They'll
Yeah.
they'll learn more about themselves, and they'll actually get more situations going for them, which in turn, you know, will jumpstart other situations because now they're on a whole nother level of understanding. So the problem is that it's the fear of who they think they are. So they're like, well, you know, I can. It's like this. A person can think, oh, I'm this cool guy. I can get girls and girls want me and yada yada yada. And that's his ego, and that's him, like, you know, just sort of feeling himself. But then he can stay in that mindset or stay with that sort of vision because he's not doing anything. But as soon as he
Yeah.
approaches a few girls and they reject him, then it's like the cognitive dissonance is going to occur if he tries to, like, you know, like.
Yeah.
But right now, the reality is telling him, well, listen, you thought you was that guy, but, you know,
But you're not.
right, exactly. And nobody, people don't want to have to deal with that. They would rather just stay in the same place. They would rather just stand still than to actually move and live. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
moving, it shatters all your illusions. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Shatters
Yeah.
illusions of who you thought you were, and then it breaks. It sort of, it humbles you. It puts you in your place. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Exactly. Speaking of Anthony DeMello, he mentions basically in his books, for, you know, one of his themes is we've been brainwashed by society since birth with all this garbage programming, and a lot of that has to do with you know, male and female interactions, such as these nonsensical movies we see growing up. You know, where the nice guy puts a woman on this pedestal, and then the woman at the end, you know, he gets her, which is obviously not how things work in reality, but quite the opposite. So, with that being said, what would you say is the quickest and most effective way someone can get deprogrammed of seeing, you know, women as these angelic beings portrayed on TV? And furthermore, and more importantly, how to get deprogrammed to see that reality that these women are out here taking care of business like no other, you know?
Well, I would say the one of the biggest things is that a guy has to just put himself in situations to where he's with women
Yeah.
in everyday, you know, everyday situations, and like in some sort of relationship, like either, you know, it could be a fuck buddy relationship, dating, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever, whichever one it is. But you got to put yourself in these situations so you can really see a woman versus being told what a woman is. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because what happens is that if you really see the you know, the human side and the regularness, you know what I'm saying, of a woman, then all the sort of like the veil is, it's unveiled. You can see the reality of it. And a lot of guys on
Yeah.
reality, they see the woman with the makeup and looking like an Instagram model and in her glory and her glamour and all this other stuff. And it basically creates the picture of what you've been conditioned to think that is. So, you know, you've looked in magazines, you looked at TV, and everyone's looking glamorous. So when you at the bar, at the club, the woman is looking exactly how that woman on TV looked. And so it does something to your mind to where you believe she's like that woman on the TV. You think she's perfect. She's amazing. You think all of this off, all of it just looking at her. And then that impacts how you come at her and how do you interact with her, because now you're treating her like she's this goddess and she's better than you and you have to attain to get her and all this other nonsense. Now, once you have been in situations with women and you see a woman when she just woke up and she ain't got no makeup on and her breath stink and
Yeah.
she's farting and, you know, and, you know, all of these things, and that's like going in a negative direction. But I feel like that's good to see that, because what happens is that when you see that, it's sort of like it takes away that illusion. Like I remember there was this one girl I used to hook up with, and I remember we were at her house, and she was, and this is the funny part, when we first met, and this happens sometimes too, when we first met, she was acting very like not, I don't want to say stuck up, but you know, like how some people act like they're better than everybody, they're the shit and blah, blah,
Yeah.
type of vibe, right?
Yeah.
So I met her at this sort of like little get together, whatever. And we were just talking, shooting the shit or whatever. And, you know, she was putting on this like sort of show or this energy like, oh yeah, I'm this and I'm that and whatever. And, you know, you guys and whatever. Right. So anyway, me and her start talking. We hooked up a few times or whatever. And I remember one time I was at her house, we hooking up and she was looking all sad. And I'm like, yo, what's wrong with you? And she was like, oh, I don't know. You know, I'm just going through some things. And she starts crying. And then, you know, she's like, she's like, you know, I'm so broke. I don't even have any money for food right now. And I'm just looking at this woman on her couch crying. Cause this was like right as I'm about to leave her. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm putting on my jacket and she's just laying there looking pathetic, just crying. And I'm just like, and I'm looking at her and I'm like saying to myself, and I remember saying this to myself. I was saying, there's going to be a guy that sees her, because she was a good looking chick. She was cute, had a banging body, all that other stuff. I said, there's going to be a guy who's going to see this woman and who's going to be scared to approach her and talk to her. And they don't even know what the hell, they're not seeing what I'm seeing right now. And I'm not saying that to disparage her. I'm just saying that to say that she's human. You see, she's regular. She's a person. It's okay. It's like there's nothing special to where a man needs to be afraid or put a woman on a pedestal or think she's special. Like, you see what I mean? So it's like, I think guys need to be in those type of situations more where they're really interacting with women so that they can see women when they're not in this state of glamour and trying to put up this sort of like, you know, this sort of image. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I hear you. I was going to ask you, so if a guy wants to have an open relationship with his wife or long-term serious girlfriend and both are in agreement, do you personally think it's cool to go up and mac on a woman while you're like, say, actually out hand in hand with your wife or your girl, and you're like, wait, hold up a minute, and you walk away from your girl and your wife just to go hit on this girl of interest? Or would you think that's something that you should do, you know, either when you're by yourself or with your buddies?
Well, it depends on your relationship. It depends on how your relationship is. Cause, you know, the thing with open relationships is, all open relationships aren't the same. So you have some people that might do this type of thing. Another person might do this type of thing. Another couple might, or whatever, have these type of rules. So depending on what your open relationship is, you set the rule or the tone of what that's to be, what that's supposed to be. So I'll give you a perfect example. There's times where, with my wife, we would be at like events, like a polyamorous meetup event where people just hanging out, drinking, talking, chilling or whatever. Right. And, you know, most people in there are like open relationships, non-monogamy, poly, whatever. Right. And so while we're at the event, my wife's there with me and I'm basically hollering at some chick right in front of her. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. You know what I mean? Like some dude's trying to holler at her and I'm just chilling. I'm talking to whatever. Right.
Right.
But with my girlfriend, right, we don't have that type of relationship, you know, at this point. So me and her, if we were at like somewhere, I'm not going to go holler at nobody in front of her and she's not going to holler at nobody in front of me. So it was interesting how with my two women that I'm with, we have two totally different relationships and different levels of where we're at in the relationships with each other. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Okay. So it's not the same with both of them. You can set your own different parameters and rules and it's all, gotcha. Right. Let me just see here. I'm kind of, make sure I'm keeping track of time. I was going to ask you, I guess, let's see here. Do you have more success with in-person as far as like just going up to women or like dating apps as far as, you know, whatever dating apps you use? Is it like an equal balance or would you say?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny because I would say if I had to choose one, if somebody's like, you know, choose one that's like the better one than the other, I would say definitely, and from my experience, approaching women, you know, at different events and stuff like that in person is way more effective than the dating apps.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I say that is because, and, you know, just in my personal experience, I've seen this or whatever, but the good thing about the dating apps is the convenience.
Yeah.
The problem with the dating apps is the convenience. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I hear you. I know it.
Yeah, because it's so convenient, it's easier for women to be very lackadaisical.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but with if you meet a woman outside in the street, at a bar, club, whatever, right? A lot of times the woman is already put in some sort of effort to be outside, look how she's looking. And so therefore, when you're there talking to her and interacting with her, you're sort of able to get a different response. Plus you got like more real time responses in an in-person situation. I have way more to play with. With the online thing, it's, it's not much to play with. You got your picture, your bio, and then your messages. And what happens is that because she has a bunch of other guys talking, it's a bunch of other distractions. Whereas one-on-one, it's generally you in front of the woman doing what you need to do. So there's been so many times where I've went out to meet up groups since I'm in New York. Go to a lot of those those meetup groups and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like the singles events and all that other stuff, right? Networking events. So I would go to these places and I'd approach a woman. We'd be talking for like 10, 50 minutes, and then we're out of there. We're like I'm going back to whatever, or like I meet a girl and we might be making out by that in the next 20 minutes, half an hour. And so you get more of that like real energetic excitement in that moment versus with a dating app, you don't really get that type of stuff. But the dating apps are also good too, because the convenience of it, the positive part of the convenience of it is that there are times where you can match with a girl, talk to a girl, meet up with her very quickly and make things go down. Like there's times where I remember this one girl, I matched with this girl at like 7 p.m. and literally by 9:30 we was fucking. You understand?
Okay.
So it's that simple sometimes too.
Is there any particular, do you kind of, because you're a very busy dude, do you kind of just like, do you swipe right on everyone just because you don't have the time to go through it? Or do you have like any particular strategy as far as like navigating, like for the best, I'm kind of curious how you do it.
Yeah, I basically swipe on everybody. I think that's the best course of action. I know some people, they say, oh, don't swipe on everyone because it's going to mess up the algorithm. Nonsense. Because the thing is, there was a point where, because I had to my Tinder be glitching sometimes, so I have to start over. Like I would like delete my account, start it over, whatever. But there was at one point where I was swiping on a bunch of chicks, and I had like over 2,000 matches on there.
Wow.
Right. And so the problem is that they'll say, oh, well, you're not going to get the most attractive women if you're swiping on everybody. And the thing is, if you're swiping on everybody, you're going to get attractive women, but you're also going to get unattractive women because you're swiping on everybody. But the point is that you're swiping on everyone to make it quicker to get to the women that you actually want. Because if you're sitting there spending time, so let's say, for example, you look through 10 profiles carefully and then you swiped right on maybe 6 of them.
Yeah.
It took you 10, 15 minutes to do that, just to really look at these profiles, check them out, whatever. Versus if I'm swiping on everybody in 10 or 15 minutes, I probably swipe through 200 profiles. Now I've gotten to 200 people while the other person got only to 10. You see what I'm saying? And so what happens is that I'm using my time more wisely. I'm getting to more women, and then the women who match with me, then I can go and look and say, okay, this girl I want to talk to, this girl I don't want to talk to. And then you just do it that way. So I think that's usually the better situation. I think the reason why they talk about, oh, the algorithm is going to do this and that is because I think what happened is, because I even heard the like Tinder and all these people say that too. And I'm like, that's a bunch of BS. Because the thing is this, if you're saying that the algorithm is going to make me get less attractive women because I'm swiping on everyone, how do you know what I find attractive?
Right. I hear you.
That doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. By the way, do you get on dating apps, do women sometimes recognize you from like the YouTube channel, or does that?
I mean, I don't have that happen that much. I've had that happen once in a blue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not as much though. Yeah, not as much. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering, so with all your success, both in business with women, do you still struggle with anything or have any doubts from time to time about anything? For example, like things you want to achieve or areas where you lack clarity, because you seem to really have it all down. So, I mean, in my opinion, so I'm just kind of curious if there's like, you're like kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think what it is it's weird because it's like, no, I don't think anyone's perfect. Like, I don't think I'm perfect. But I think with me is I'm constantly, I would say as far as doubts, I wouldn't say I have doubts, but I have more so like I kind of like have questions. And so what I mean is I'm always questioning everything all the time. You know what I mean? Like the things that I think I know, I'm like, but is this correct? Is it not correct? Is there a correct thing? Is there not? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm always questioning all these things. And so, and then also too, there's times where, and this is so weird, but it's funny when I think about it. There's times where I want to be petty and I want to be an asshole.
Right.
But because I know better, it's like hard for me to do it, but I think it would be fun. But it's like, there's something in me where there's this, like the dark side of me wants to come out more, but then the fucking positivity sometimes is so overwhelming that I feel bad if I, like say something mean to somebody or
right.
Like it's weird. It's a weird thing, but it's like, but then the funny part is that when because I feel like I don't let that dark side out, when I do, it's very, very disrespectful. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and so that's why I try to curve it sometimes, because sometimes what happens is that it's like this, when you're smart or you have some sort of advantage in certain situations, right? You could do a lot of damage to someone who doesn't know any better. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so what happens is because you're doing that damage to someone who doesn't know any better, it's almost like you're being a bully. It's almost like, like how a person is bigger and stronger physically. Some people are bigger and stronger mentally than other people. And so I'm aware that I'm stronger mentally than other people. And I know if I was to say this to this person or, make a video about this person in this way, it would really like hurt them. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, I try my best to stay away from that. So that's like kind of like what I struggle with sometimes, because, it's like, especially when I hear people talk shit, it's like part of me doesn't care, but then part of me wants to like be petty. It's a very weird thing. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know what? I read a spiritual book about that. It's like, I think it's like everyone, I don't know if it was Anthony DeMello or somebody else, but they say that inside of like every human being, there's like a wolf, and there's like, which would be, I guess, like the dark side you're talking about. And then the positivity, like another animal, but they are like constantly at odds with each other. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's,
and it's tough because that's something that, and so I think that with me is, it's a lot of self-reflection. And my thing is, I want to get to the point where I'm a little bit more balanced with that, because I feel like even though I know better and I know certain things, it's that thing in me. And I'm wondering, I'm like, will it ever go away, or is it supposed to not go away and just be there? Is that just how it's supposed to be? And I'm supposed to be able to, just observe it, be aware of it, and then, do what I must in these situations to make the best outcome or whatever is the best outcome for me. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you for explaining that. I got to ask you this too. By the way, I'm keeping track of time. We're almost done here. I'm wrapping up. I was kind of curious. Do you have any good comebacks or one-liners if you ask a girl out and she says she has a boyfriend? Just maybe give us just one good comeback, because, I get this, and I'm sure a lot of other guys get this as well. So I'm just kind of curious if you could maybe throw us one little gem of yours. Oh,
no, you just say, like, I would say shit like, it's a bunch of stuff. Like a girl say, "Oh, I have a boyfriend," I'll be like, "Good, because I just want to be a fuck buddy." You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right.
A guy, or she'll say like, and this is like a little bit like a longer conversation, but she'll say, "Oh, I have a boyfriend," and I'll be like, "Oh, so how does it feel to have like the most perfect, awesome, like like guy in the world?" And she's like, "Oh, well, he's not," and usually they'll say he's not perfect. And I'll be like, "Oh, so he's not perfect. So cool. So how about, you get with me too, and then we can balance out the fact that he's not."
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Playing around with it. You know what I mean? But it's like, the thing is, a lot of times, also I tell guys is that sometimes what happens is when a woman tells you she has a boyfriend, it's either she's lying or she has a boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? She wants you to know that she has a boyfriend. Usually if a woman is attracted to you, in some cases, if they have a boyfriend, they'll never mention him. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Because they want
yeah.
with you. So yeah.
One thing I was going to I know you're going to say hell no to this, but I got to ask you this anyway. I'm just curious. In your entire life, have you ever met a woman who you found so interesting or fascinating that you actually wanted to get to know her a little before having sex with her? And mind you, when I say get to know, I'm not talking about like taking her on dates or taking her anywhere, but like there was just something about her where you were like, you were so curious. You were like, you wanted to know about like her thoughts on like certain things prior to like, having sex with her, or that's never happened.
No, I would say in that context, not really, but I would say it can happen to if it's a woman that is your ideal type. Meaning, like, you might not necessarily want to, like, it's not a thing where it's like, oh, I got to get to know her, but because she's your ideal type, part of you wants to be like, man, like, oh my God, like, she's like exactly what I want, and therefore you start to almost like get in simp mode. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's a very like unconscious thing because it's like it's like, imagine like you're literally staring at your perfect image of what you're attracted to. So it's like, it's almost like, and that's when you really got to be on top of your shit. You know what I'm saying?
So in situations like that, I mean, do you still recommend like, fuck it, like your ideal, like go mode one and be like, just be 100% direct? Or is there ever like flexibility there where you're like, I genuinely like might want to know something about this woman?
No, I think you got to keep it all the same because again, by doing that, and what we're talking about here is that you end up putting her on a pedestal. You're doing this unconsciously by putting her on a pedestal. So then, therefore, the things you're saying and doing usually come off like a simp, or you come off as like you're being needy, and then that's the thing that causes her to usually not even want to get with you or be attracted to you, because part of the attraction is letting a woman know that you are interested, but also at the same time, she still needs to know you don't give a fuck. You see what I'm saying? But if you give too much of a fuck, you're letting her know you're interested, then it's like, then now you're putting too much energy in her direction, which is going to repel her. Because part of what makes a woman want you is the fact that she doesn't have you. And if she sees she has you, then she doesn't want you because she has you. You see what I'm saying?
I see. Thank you. Right. Yeah, thanks for explaining that. Just two quick things before I let you go. I was just going to ask you, do you guys plan on doing a Game Kings 2, like maybe in the near future? Have you guys had any talks about that, or you can't talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be doing Game Kings 2. We're going to start filming probably in like early next year, like maybe February, March-ish or something like that. But yeah, definitely in plans of doing that. And we don't know exactly who's going to be in it yet,
right?
But but we'll keep you guys posted. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sweet. Thanks for I was curious about that. And by the way, as far as either later this year or early next year, do you plan on having any events or seminars up in New York City? Where because if you do, I'd definitely like to check them out. Do you happen to know?
Oh yeah, definitely. So we're going to be doing that next year too. So we're going to have to do the Game Kings. We're going to do seminars. I'm also going to be doing more in-person coaching. So if anybody who wants like in-person coaching, we're going to be doing more of that. And so all of that is coming next year. You know what I'm saying? So we got the plans to make that happen.
Real quick question about the in-person coaching. Is that when you do that, is it normally they come up to New York like one-on-one, or is it kind of like you deal with like kind of a small group of guys? How do you?
Oh, it's one-on-one. So like it's one-on-one. Okay. Take them out to different places, take them to meet women, talk to women. So we do the whole like thing of like going out, interacting with women, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And last thing, if people wanted to, of course, find your channel or your website with your programs, where can they go, Mr. Locario?
They can definitely go to mr.locario.com. That is the main site that you get the books, the audio programs, stuff like that. And also go to badboymembership.com, where you get 45 through 90-minute audio and video dating advice tutorials every month. Also, you can go to masculineidentitymembership.com. That is the site. Miles Cunningham is leading that site, but you can definitely get up on there and check that out. So yeah, and also check me out on Instagram at real Mr. Locario.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, thanks again. I wanted to thank you for joining the Random Rhetoric podcast interview. I've been wanting to interview you for some time now. So thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. And, maybe at some point in the future we can do it again. But thank you so much, Mr. Locario, for taking the time to do this.
Oh yeah, definitely appreciate you, bro. I'm gonna holler at you. All right,
Okay, man.
peace.